And let me make sure I'm showing my monitor here. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining this afternoon. We are now recording this session. For those of you that haven't heard so far, we are going to record and share the link with everyone afterwards, as well as a copy of the presentation. Please use the questions functionality to send us questions that will answer questions throughout the webinar today. So with that, I'm introducing David Ciroli, our CEO.
All right. Thank you, Julie. Everyone on the call, really appreciate the time. We're going to have these webinars on a regular basis. We're going to touch on 4 of the opportunities with our partners, our partner programs today. I'm going to go in depth on the Army and Air Force, our federal program, a little more today. As Julie said, we have 50-50 as far as half the group hasn't been on a webinar before. So the other half, you're going to hear some of the stuff you've heard before. So bear with me. And then we'll go directly into the partner programs after that. But I really need to, and maybe this will answer some of the questions that have come up from some of the other webinars of who is ePS and what is NDVSB and what are these partner programs and how does this help us, as in how does it help you? So I'm going to start there. So ePS, I'm the CEO and founder, and we've been helping small businesses for over 15 years, and we're helping those small businesses grow. Our main focus is helping them grow with enterprise accounts, so Fortune 1000 companies, and in public sector. We started that with what we call it's the big distributors and wholesalers that are out there. So the Grangers, the Staples, the Office Depots, the CDWs, the Cinex, and BWRs, and so on of the world. They have diversity and veteran reseller programs. So that's where we started. And they needed to align those small businesses with their customers, their enterprise accounts and public sector accounts. The biggest challenge was technology. All those big accounts, all those big customers, as most of you know, they have specific requirements. They do their best because a lot of those customers are our customers as well. They're corporate members just like we are at NMSDC, and they do their best to direct as much of their diversity and veteran spend to all of the veterans and diversity companies that are out there. One of the biggest hurdles they have, and we knew that 15 years ago, and we need to know that today, is the technology. Most of the small businesses don't have the technology to meet all the requirements that those businesses have. So a lot of times they can't participate in their program, or they are awarded smaller bids associated to their opportunities with those corporate members in public sector. So we bridged that gap. We brought the technology in. And a long story short is no matter what a public sector organization or what a private company or corporation asks a small business to do, their answer can now be, yes, we can do that. And I won't get into all the details, but it's a lot. And that's where we started 15 years ago. 2019, I decided we're helping hundreds of corporations and public sector. We're helping thousands of small businesses, but we have to increase that to thousands of businesses and tens of thousands of small businesses. That's NDVSB. So again, I'm the founder of that as well. That's our National Diversity and Veteran Small Business. So we had a question, is that just for diversity veterans? No, that is for all small businesses. So diversity and veteran and women-owned and small business, etc. So it's for all small businesses, especially those with certifications. So we decided to expand that, and we worked with our partners on that. As you know, as I mentioned, as a corporate member and other corporate members with NMSDC, and even public sector accounts, they only have so many opportunities. So we said, how do we expand this? If we start working with our partners, we can actually reach that goal, and we can make it bigger and bigger and bigger. But we have to make sure we meet all those requirements, and we make sure we do the right alignment. And that's what we're going to talk about more in detail today. And we're going to talk about how we do that alignment. We're going to answer some of the questions about this program specifically. This is one of many webinars I'm going to continue to hold because our partners are really stepping up to the plate. They've been great to work with. We're going to talk about them today. You see some of them on the screen here. So Exchange is on here for those that are military on the federal side. That's Army and Air Force Exchange Services. So lots of PX stores on all the bases. Most of them know as PX stores. So they've been using our eMarketplace technology for the last 7 years. And we've talked to that partner and said, It's time to bring in and have a diversity and veteran inclusion. It's been on our roadmap with you since we've been partners, and we want to do that sooner than later, especially with COVID. That's when COVID hit in 2020, and we started this back in June of last year. So AAFES is their name, Exchange. They stepped up to the plate. NMSDC stepped up to the plate. We approached them with the same type of program that we wanted to roll out. The Rosie Network for our veterans, they stepped up to the plate. SBA, everybody knows who SBA is. SBA is stepping up to the plate, small business and SBA in the VBOC centers. I think we have some folks from VBOC on here. That's the Veteran Business Outreach Centers. So VBOC is stepping up to the plate and several other ones. So we really went forward with all the partner relationships that we developed over the years and said, this is the programs, these are the programs we want to bring to our small businesses. And we need your help. We need your help to do this. We can only do so much, just like other corporate members that are out there, corporations and public sector. We can only do so much, but if we collectively work together and we bring all of this into one system, one opportunity, we can meet those goals of helping hundreds of corporate or thousands of corporations, thousands of public sector, and tens of thousands of small businesses. And here we are today. So when I say they stepped up to the plate, to be able to get on a call with you today and the ones I've had in the past and say we've achieved this in just over a year, it's really phenomenal. This doesn't normally happen. And that's why a lot of people say, is this the real deal? Or is this just another webinar? Is this just a one-off opportunity? No, it's not. It's a scale. It's going to continue to scale. And you'll see that as I go through today's presentation. And some questions came in earlier. I'm going to talk about this being, it's a marathon. This isn't a sprint. This isn't a one-time, oh, we'll get some orders and then it's over. Or it'll last for a little while and then it's over. No, it's going to continue. That doesn't, we said, when do the orders start? That's a process. I'm going to explain that process. Everybody knows adoption rate is very important. You just can't put something out there this big and everybody's going to say, oh, let's do this tomorrow. Well, they're saying that, but they're not saying tomorrow. There's a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of work that has to be done up front. We've been doing that over the last year. And everybody on the call and our supplier partners, our small businesses that have already signed up, they're part of what I call that grassroots effort. That's what we have here. We have a grassroots effort. I know it sounds kind of corny, but it is. It's a grassroots effort to have the visibility that we've created within the last year. It really is amazing. And the corporations that are stepping up and the public sector organizations that are stepping up is just phenomenal. So again, these are just some of the partners that we work with, and we're continually working with more that are understanding now what NDVSB is doing and how it's starting to scale out. So let's just talk about the partner opportunities that we're going to at least detail in some and touch on today. Next screen. So again, when we talk about partner programs mean that falls under NDVSB. The first program, as I mentioned, is with AAFES. A lot of work up front there. It's very important. This is all the thinking we had to do up front on your behalf. This is my fourth company. So I've been in your shoes. I don't know how many small businesses are under $1 million or under 500,000, but I've been there. I've been there when we just had 25,000 in revenue. I know how difficult it is to get going. So I know exactly what has to be set up before we even go to market. One is you got to have the right partners. I remember sitting in my chair years and years ago, thinking, how are all these other people getting opportunities? One, I never hear about them. And two, if I do get an opportunity, I'm usually at the bottom of the chain. Well, NDVSB fixes that. We level that playing field. But our partners, our small business partners have to have somebody up front doing that blocking, opening up that path. That's what NDVSB does. So that first partner program, AAFES, Army Air Force Exchange Services, as I mentioned, a customer. When you're talking about the federal government, you have to have, everybody says, okay, you got to have lobbyists, you have to have connections, you have to have networking. Yes, 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 and yes. You have to have all of that. That takes time. How about we have a partner like ePS and NDVSB that already blazed that path? Can we drive down that same road? Absolutely. That's what we set up. We have to understand when you get involved with the federal government, what are the buyer requirements? What are those folks that are on the Air Force and Army bases? Are we talking about contracts? Because getting into GSA and contracts, that's really hard. Or are we talking about something else? We're talking about both. But up front here, the easiest path is government P card spend. You don't need a GSA contract. You don't have to be on SAM.gov. You have to be a small business. That's what they're committed to spending $1.8 billion on. We have to also know that those buyers, they want to be able to shop in a secure, comfortable environment that they're used to seeing. Guess what? That's AAFES. AAFES has been around since 1894. They're on all the bases. Guess who the buyers are? The buyers are the people on the bases. Air Force alone, 26,000 of them. So for those of you that were on the webinar with Mike Hogan just last week, I think it was, Mike Hogan is at the Pentagon. Yeah, and he's in purchasing. He reports directly up to Major General Hull. Well, who reports up to Mike Hogan? The 26,000 P card holders on the bases. That's who reports up to Mike Hogan. That's the path you have to have as a small business to get things going. That's the path that NDVSB laid out for our small businesses, obviously with AAFES being the partner and being a customer, and knowing that everything that we're talking about and everything we're doing and how we're rolling this out, we will be successful because they have used our software. They use it now. It's on all the bases. So AAFES is in 100%. We started with the Air Force. We went to the Army. Good news for those that weren't on the other call. We just finished our final due diligence with the Army, Pentagon purchasing, and the Army's moving forward. That's great. I mean, unbelievable news. We're talking about almost $3 billion in spend on a P card. That's a big pie. And we're going to continue down that path. I won't get into too much more detail there, other than before I finish the screen, I want to get to the other two, and then we'll get into more detail about that program, because that's what we have time for today. I want to talk about Army, Air Force, our federal program. Has the other federal agencies taken notice to this? Answer is yes. Another wonderful acronym, OSDBU, layman's term. Every federal agency has a small business underutilized group within every federal agency. It's called OSDBU. Their directive is to spend all of their P card money with small businesses. There's actually an executive order that came out on that early 2020. We already presented to the OSDBU Council, so every single federal agency. So that's just an example to say, is it scalable? Is this going to continue to move? Yes, it's going to. Again, for that to happen within 1 year is unheard of. Again, can you imagine being a small business? I did. I was sitting in my chair years ago, like I said, and how do I get a hold of somebody at the Pentagon to talk to about what I'm offering? And how do I get a hold of those folks on the bases to buy my stuff? Almost impossible to do. That's why we blazed the path, and that's why we have NDVSB. Our third partner program, Staples happens to be another national corporate member with NMSDC. We work with a lot of the corporate members at NMSDC. Staples is growing their diversity reseller program. They're going to help align sellers with all the Army and Air Force bases as part of their buy local. Does that mean it's a shoe-in for everybody? Everybody can become a seller, a reseller for Staples? No, they have criteria. One of the biggest ones is technology. That's part of what we're actually testing with Staples. We saw what Staples was doing and how they're building their diversity program. A lot of great conversations. We're actually testing what's called the API, for those who are familiar with them, but it's an integration. We're testing with that with Staples, another corporate partner. We're testing an integration to help them make it easier to onboard their reseller partners. That's how committed Staples is. And they're aligning it. Isn't this beautiful? Very informal here. I'm not always politically correct or polished, but I use these words. It's beautiful. Army and Air Force bases, well, Staples aligning with that program. We have all these synergies that are coming together. It's awesome. Our partner program 4. I know half of you are NMSDC certified. That's going to be another webinar. I'll touch on it today. I think we're up to 80 now since the screen was produced. But there's 80 fellow NMSDC corporate members already working with the NMSDC marketplace. A lot of those folks that have already joined that are on the phone saying, when do the orders start? You know, the orders don't start that easily. That's because these fellow corporate members, as I mentioned before, they have lots of requirements. Do they like going to a community marketplace? No. Will they? Yeah. Are their buyers going to Amazon or Walmart or something like that? Yep. Is that where most of the spend is going? Nope. Do most of them have some type of procurement platform that they use? Yep. Are those the ones that you're talking to? Yep. How does that all work? We're going to talk about that in the next webinar, but you have 80 of them right now in 10 weeks that have asked for demos, and they've gotten their demos and they're starting to move forward. That means they're going to have their own private diversity portal that they're aligning small businesses, NMSDC suppliers within their own diversity portal on their procurement platform, making it that much easier to find you, buy from you, and that's service suppliers too. So I'm sure we have a lot of service suppliers on here. A lot of questions come with that. I'll get to that in a minute. And then our partner program 5. We have a lot of suppliers that they fit into that B2C category. Do we have a program with Amazon for B2C? Yep, we do. Do we kind of compete with Amazon too? Yep, we do. But we also support them on the B2C side with our technology and with our partners, our supplier partners that want to be part of that. Do we have B2C programs? Yep, they're coming. Are they more specific? Absolutely. Like I said before, when we blaze that path, we're going to be very specific about getting adoption. And we talked to Rosie for our veterans that are out there. That's veteran specific. Rosie's going to have their own B2C site. Their base has been asking for that for their veteran partners for years. We're putting that together, building that with Rosie. Should be ready by Q2 of next year. What about everybody else? What about who's not veterans? How about AAFES? Back to AAFES we go. AAFES B2C. Yep, coming in Q2 of 2022. So for those suppliers that are out there, the service, product, more consumer related, is there something for us? Absolutely. We're not going to leave anybody behind. So we're starting to do that too. AAFES B2C, does that mean it's just military? Nope. That means those are consumers that are active military or retired military that want to buy from their local businesses, small businesses, veterans, mill spouse, etc. So the B2C, we're addressing that as well. We're bringing those opportunities to our small business partners. So again, I'm going to come back and we're going to have other webinars. We're going to talk more about the Staples one in a different webinar. The next one that we're probably going to have is going to be program 4 with the corporate members. A lot of questions around that. I'll touch briefly on that today towards the end of today's webinar. But let me get into the Army and Air Force, because we had a lot of questions about that. And we're already waist deep with the Army and about neck deep with the Air Force, moving along very rapidly, and we're very excited about it. But you're a partner when you partner with ePS. You're not a customer. It's not a membership. You're not, of course you say, yeah, I'm certified to sell on NDVSB eMarketplaces. That's great. You want to be able to say that. But it's not a membership. This is really being able to, as a partner, saying, I want to understand, how's this rolling out and how do we make money? I'd ask the same questions when I'm in your shoes. So let's go to that next, Julie. So our Air Force First Look program, that's what the Air Force calls it, First Look. The gentleman in the middle, you see there, I'm the bald guy, by the way, I'm the short guy on the other side. But you could tell who General Holt is. He's the head of Pentagon purchasing for the Air Force. General Holt met us down at Robins Air Force Base, flew down from Washington and launched the NDVSB program, First Look program with us. And Stephanie Brown is next to him. She's the founder of Rosie. Of course, Julie's next to me there. She's on the call today. So General Holt's First Look program, his mission, we don't call it a goal. General Holt calls it his mission, and now it's our mission. He wants to be able to diffuse that 1.8 billion, and this is his statement, not ours, and refocus it like a laser beam in the small business communities outside the Air Force installation gates. That means outside the gates in the state, regional. We get a lot of questions about that. Is it just for local? No, but that will be the first look. If they can't find suppliers just right outside the gate, yep, they're going to go to state suppliers. How about after that? Then they're going to go to regional. And of course, they'll look at national. They're all going to be available. Some of the suppliers have asked, well, wait a minute, there's a criteria. Yep. As I mentioned before, we don't leave anybody behind. great question came in prior to the webinar. And I've answered on some of the other webinars as well. How do you not leave anybody behind? Federal government always has criteria. As I mentioned before, so do corporations. They all have criteria. We take care of the technology part with y'all. But what's the other criteria? Well, they started off with 1.5 million in revenue for our small businesses. We got to say, well, wait a minute. Number one, our approach is a little bit different. And number two, we can't leave anybody behind, General. We march the same way you do. So how about, and the question came from the same question from this gentleman here, is it for all the Army and Air Force bases? Yes. Will each of the Army and Air Force bases just have one giant eMarketplace that they all go to? Nope. If we did that, we'd have to stick with that criteria of 1.5 mil. Because of our technology, we're able to go to the Air Force, Army, and any other federal agency and tell them you're going to have your own private eMarketplace. Your own private eMarketplace allows you to control everything within that eMarketplace. You access, this is big, you access that eMarketplace as a federal agency through another federal agency called AAFES, which means everything is secure. You're very comfortable working federal agency to federal agency. Everything's been tested, security, all the things a small business needs, the technology, all those crazy forms they talk about, 889 compliance, all that stuff we take care of with our small business partners before they're even part of the eMarketplace. Probably got a group of people on the call right now going, what's an 889? Don't worry about it. We'll talk to you about that. And we're going to actually help you get your 889 certificate. We'll actually do it for you. We just have to ask you some questions and you're going to have it. So that heavy lifting that I talk about, that's part of blazing the path. It's not just a matter of saying, well, General Holt wants to do this and there is a criteria. Well, we got to get rid of that criteria. How about each base has their own private eMarketplace? Okay, criteria gone. That means if they're only a small business just starting off, maybe they only got 100,000 revenue. Okay, that means they can only sell to a few bases, or maybe it's a smaller catalog. What if I'm a service supplier? Well, you're available to all of the bases. They're going to be able to find you now. They can't find you. They go through NAICS codes, they go through government websites, they go through all kinds of ways to try to find small businesses. We went back to General Holt and the Army and told them, hey, and the Air Force, I said, how about keyword search? How about we just speak their language, you know, the buyer's language? I'm looking for construction services. I'm looking for staffing. Okay, keyword search it is. We built a keyword search. That has just gotten great responses, not only from the Army and Air Force, but also from our corporate members. But you can see General Holt's mission. He passed that mission to us. So our mission, and this is part of you being a partner, understanding how we go through this process. Blazing this path requires everybody to be involved and everybody to understand what is needed to continue to build that path. So this is the process. We start aligning suppliers with each and every base. How do we do that? Well, the Pentagon's working very closely with us. That's the next slide, please. When they come back and they said, yep, definitely. Services, we can't even track what's going on our P card. And there's a lot of services we could probably use our P card for, but as they've already told us, we can't find them. They can't find us, we can't find them. A lot of times they think they need a GSA contract. They don't need a GSA contract. A lot of the services are done $10,000 or less. That's the limit they have per order on their P card. Let's say it's a $15,000 service. Okay, they're going to cut 2 orders, one for 10 and one for 5. So we do have that threshold. We can't move. That's a federal requirement. Might go up to 25,000 per order. They're working on that, but right now it's 10,000. So we're working with them saying, okay, now we have those smaller suppliers. We can at least align them locally. What if they're not by a base, an Army or an Air Force base? That's okay. Then we'll align them with 1 or 2 or 3 Air Force bases based on their revenue and based on their credit facility. And we'll align them with a regional base. It just means you're not going to be selling to all the bases until you get that revenue line up. If you're already 1.5 mil or more, well, that opens you up to all the bases. Again, service suppliers are opened up to all of the bases. Product suppliers, you're looking at part of the screen. We went back to the Pentagon. Pentagon said, okay, we got to continue down this path, but to get adoption, make sure our small businesses are successful. General Holt, we're going to bring this to you. We got boots on the ground. We have NMSDC, we have VBOC, we have ROSIE, and many others that are helping align small businesses with your bases. and you're committed to us and Mike Hogan, if you were on the call with Mike Hogan, you're hearing it from me, but I always like it hearing it right from the people that are running the program on their side, the First Look program. That was Mike Hogan, I already mentioned. That's a 26,000 P card holders report up to him. Okay, we're going to bring him to you, and you're going to say this spend's going there. Well, Mike, do you mind telling all the small businesses that? Because I'm telling them that, and you know, they've heard this kind of stuff before. A lot of times they're saying, is this for real? Well, if you hear it from the Pentagon and you hear about everything we're talking about today, it is. So that's the process. The process is now we have to work within categories that they have. We want to find out once we go live, once that base starts accessing their own private eMarketplace, those buyers have to see exactly what they're looking for, period. Is that going to take longer? Yep. So you're not just going to throw a catalog out there with everything. Absolutely not. Can you help us with that? Yep. For example, they've already come back and said, hey, you know what, need laptops? We already know it's under GSA contract. Take it out of the catalog. Okay. Screens, mouses, mouse pads, all the keyboards, keep them all in. So they're starting to tell us what shouldn't be in there, because a GPC card holder, honestly, they don't have a lot of time during the day either. So they're like, I just want to see what I can buy, and I'll buy it as long as it's available and it meets what General Holt has asked us to do. So we're working in these spend categories. We keep getting more data on the spend categories. Part of the reason of, one of the many reasons of the private eMarketplaces for each of the bases is so they can understand their spend better. That's part of the service side I mentioned earlier. The product side, general categories. Julie, if I'm not mistaken, we got some subcategories already brought to us. Perfect. So that's some of the subcategories. So when we went, okay, tell me more about industrial supplies. Can you tell me more what fits under there? MRO, how much, what within MRO? We're getting more of that information. When you say durable goods, is that furniture, appliances, etc.? Yes. So you saw on the previous screen, it said durable goods. We need to know more. Our partners need to know more. They want to make sure that what's in that catalog, your buyers are going to buy. Those 26,000. Lab and medical. Does that include PPE? Absolutely. Dental supplies. I was actually shocked about that, but every base is a small city. They have hospitals, they have dental offices, some of them are adding tattoo parlors, and so on and so forth. They have schools, they have daycare centers, they have everything a city has. So just think about all that stuff that a city would buy, so does a base. So we're getting subcategories from automotive supplies to HVAC, obviously office supplies. People ask about food service equipment. Yep. What about, we have barbecue sauces, we have spices. Are we going to sell a lot? Probably not a lot. Depends what a lot is to you, but that's not something that they buy other than for events. But will you sell? Yes. Will you get visibility? Yes. We've had some of our partners say, so can you guarantee that we're going to be getting orders? No, there's a couple of things in life that are guaranteed. We all know that phrase, right? Taxes and death. What we can guarantee you is that the commitment that's coming from the Pentagon, General Holt, also Morris from the Army, EPS and our partners, and NDVSB. We can guarantee you that that opportunity is coming your way. We have to make sure that it's set up the right way so that it's adopted. But you have a lot of power, you have a lot of people behind you right now to make sure that this works. So we keep getting more and more information from Pentagon purchasing so we can continue this alignment. And that's our process, the beginning of it. When's it start? When do I start seeing orders? Well, that's part of the process. I want to make sure everybody understands it. That's why we call it a marathon. See, I've done this way too long, and you just can't put it out there. You have to have adoption. The only way you're going to get adoption is what I said. When it's out there, that those buyers come on, they go, whoa, this is exactly what I was looking for. Well, again, that takes time. So our process is that we work with the Pentagon, we work at the Army and Air Force bases, and we start talking about how are we going to launch these bases. First of all, we're going to get all these wonderful product categories and services out there, and we're going to align them properly. Then we have to make sure we get to the bases. But first and foremost, we have to make sure of these categories. We got to have a lot of services because, again, they have no idea. Are they going to tell their P card holders, hey, for sourcing purposes, absolutely go to the eMarketplace. There's a lot of small businesses offering services. Even if you can't use your P card for them, now you know they're there. Are we working with just P card holders on the basis? No, we are working with all stakeholders on the basis, key stakeholders. That means contracting officers. Every base has them. That means small business units. Every base has them. All of them are going to know about their own private eMarketplace. They're looking at that eMarketplace, obviously, for products to purchase exactly what they want. And for sourcing, if they can't use a P card, to say, wow, I have a small business here that offers this service. Now I can get them into what's called a BPA, blanket purchase agreement, or move them into a contract. Does that necessarily mean a GSA schedule? Not necessarily, but it does move into GSA. There's another slide that we use in other webinars. It's from General Holt and Mike Hogan's presentation. They're the ones that actually put that in the slide. They're the ones that said, hey, NDVSB, we don't want to stop with just GPC. We want these small businesses to be able to get into BPAs. We want to be able to get them into contracts and GSA contract schedules. Okay. The more we know about them, the more data we have about all of them, we can start doing that. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail there, but these are the conversations we have with Pentagon Purchasing. What type of data do we need to get? Once we start having the B card buyers buying from them, how do we turn it into a BPA for suppliers that are out there? We're having those conversations. That's part of blazing that path. That path keeps going. We don't know where it ends right now. It just keeps going. We can't even see the end. That's the beauty of this. So this is where we start with these categories. But we have to have the majority of these categories aligned with small businesses. We can't go out and say, oh, let's go launch Beagle Air Force Base, or let's go launch Edwards Air Force Base, or Joint Base Army Air Force down in San Antonio. And right now we got suppliers and lab and MRO. We got some great service suppliers and HVAC. Nope, can't do it. And you go, why? Those suppliers are like, why? We're available. We want to get the orders now. Yeah, but we can't get all those P card holders coming in, and we need that traffic. We need to have them see all of the major categories. That's where that spend is. So our process, we have to make sure that we have at least 70 to 80% of this met. That means we have at least one local or state and a regional and national for our major categories. And we have a good, and we're already getting to that point, we have a good selection of service suppliers. Service suppliers say, well, what does that mean for us? I'm very pointed, I'm very transparent. I'm not selling anybody on anything today. I'm excited because I wish I had this type of opportunity when I started my businesses. You're going to have visibility. You have visibility to every Army and Air Force base in the country. You're having the Pentagon telling those key stakeholders as a service, look here first. You might find that service supplier. And for those of you that need products, not only look here, you can buy them right now. Once we have that in place, as far as that alignment, and we have suppliers, our small businesses, align that way with most of our categories. And again, suppliers, our service suppliers, we launch the base. That's when the traffic comes in and the traffic doesn't stop. I'm not a fan of just revenue. I'm a fan of recurring revenue. That's how small businesses grow. Very difficult to grow what I call one-off revenue. They come in and out and they buy once in a while. How about the next question that comes up with that? When do they buy? I want to know the same thing. When's your fiscal year? We're asking all these questions on your guys' behalf. They just started their new fiscal year. They buy a lot in Q1. That means between now and January. Nope, we just ended the fiscal year. We're starting a new fiscal year. Perfect timing, NDVSB and all your partners. Getting all this set up because by the time we hit January, that's when the uptick starts. Okay, so they start going against their budget and that almost $3 billion in spend on the P card. Yep. What's it look like in Q3, which is actually Q2 calendar year next year? Q3 and Q4 for Army Air Force is their biggest spend. So our goal is to have as many small businesses possible aligned with all of the bases in Q1, our Q1, which is their Q2. Let's look at those bases that we're talking about. So these are just 30 of them. Why these 30? Because there's some activity going on here. We already went and did all our due diligence. There's something happening, good stuff happening here. Good stuff that either said, hey, we want to know more about AAFES and NMSDC marketplace for our small businesses, or they already have a lot of activity within the AAFES e-commerce site. So we said, hey, those are the ones we want to go after first. That's where we're going to start our alignment. There's 30 more, 32 more, I think it is, maybe 34. Does that mean we have to get these 30 launched first? Is usually the question. Nope. We already talked to the Pentagon. Based on our boots on the ground and where our small businesses are located, the quicker we can align them. If you don't see it on this list and it's one of the other 32 or 34, General Holt and Mike Hogan, can we pull that base forward? The answer was yep. As long as you have the alignment, because we're in agreement with you, David, we have to have that alignment first because that's going to drive adoption. Obviously, we have the voice. They all report up to us, but we have to bring them exactly what they're looking for. Got it. As long as I can mix and match this list and I can move bases around based on our alignment, then I can get adoption quicker for our small businesses. Well, again, we picked these 30 because there's some activity already happening within these bases. Army will be next. We're working with Morris on that. I'll tell you right now, very transparent. Army's list is going to be a little bit smaller. Army, Morris is his name again. He works with Mike. He's at the Pentagon with Mike. He's a big fan of Mike. Mike's a big fan of his, and Morris is even a bigger fan of General Holt. So I won't get to that whole conversation, but he said, General Holt's doing this, we're right with him. But we have a little bit different approach since General Holt's already ahead of us. We actually did a pilot program for General Holt and the Air Force bases, about 13 bases, with just MRO about a year and a half ago. So a little bit further ahead, but the Army's all in, and they're going to start off with a smaller group of bases. Morris already said, we're going to expedite that, but we're going to start there. Beautiful. As long as we're moving forward, I'm happy. And so our partners will be happy as well. So this is where we're starting our alignment. We're going to the VBOX centers, we're going to NMSDC, we're going to our other partners and Rosie, et cetera. And we're saying, we need to get alignment as quickly as possible. That is our mission. General Holt calls us the boots on the ground. Are there other federal e-marketplaces out there? Yep. Are they doing this? Nope. Do they offer what we're offering within our own private e-marketplaces for each base? Nope. They have one e-marketplace where everybody goes to. How's the adoption rate? Not very good. If you go digging, you can find it out there. It's hard to find stuff on government websites, so I'm sure you all know that. I'm not going to say who, but one of the top federal e-marketplaces that are out there was awarded by the GSA in early 2020. It was about 1.8 billion plus on Air Force's spend. They were only able to capture 5.8 million. We kind of knew that was going to happen. Everything I said before, you have to have alignment. You have to align those suppliers with those buyers. You have to know those buyers' needs. You have to put them in an environment where they feel safe and secure to shop. Federal agency to federal agency, AAFES and DVSB to another federal agency, Army, Air Force. All of that's up front. Do we believe that adoption rate will increase exponentially? Absolutely. So does General Holt and Mike Hogan. That's when Mike Hogan had a webinar with us last week. Going to have another one with us pre-Thanksgiving or just post-Thanksgiving. So you'll get to hear it from Mike as well. Their commitment, their passion, their mission of how they want all of this to roll out. But this is where we're starting. We'll have another webinar within the next month or so, probably less than that. And we'll be talking more about Army and Army Air Force bases. Again, it's going to continue to scale within our federal program. Some folks have said, what about those other federal agencies? I can tell you right now, Department of Treasury and who else, Julie, was veterans. Anyhow, two of the federal agencies.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
that
already.
Wasn't the VA.
The VA, you're right. The other, so those two are already interested. And we said, you know what? Army, Air Force, we got to get it off the ground. Once we have these suppliers aligned, those same suppliers will transfer over to your private e-marketplaces. That's our foundation. We build this foundation, we can start building everything else on top of it. Does it take a while? Yep. But the more people we have involved, all our partners we have involved, the quicker we can get there. Again, these are the bases we're starting with. Quick shot of the bases just so you see them. Again, everything's going to be passed out to everybody on the call here. Julie? So what we do is we report back to the Pentagon our alignment. We already started that. You can see, for those of you that are on a call from NMSDC, you see those little white boxes. Those are regional affiliates. We're working with them, and we're asking them to get more involved to help us with this alignment. As you join the program at NDVSB, you're our boots on the ground. You know, we're asking you to reach out to your regional affiliates. Let's help get them involved more. We need their help. We need their help to do the alignment. As I mentioned, we're just one of the corporate members. This is what we do. We only have X amount of money to spend with our small businesses. How do we get more? Well, we do that through NDVSB, but we need all our partners to get involved. Those boxes will continue to increase. Rosie suppliers, VBox suppliers. We report all this back to the Pentagon, showing exactly who's where the alignment is, how many are in categories, what services are offered, and so on. We have questions more and more about the services side. I want to address this, a couple of those. Do they buy, or will they buy our services as the Airforce do this? I had one on trucking. Yeah, can I tell you exactly what? No. Can the Pentagon tell you exactly what? No. Are they working on getting that data? Yep. Does it make you visible? Yep. Was your first answer to that question, do they use third-party shipping? Yep. How much? No idea. I'm 100% transparent. But I certainly want to make sure that you're available to them, whether they do it off a GPC card or they find you and they use your services under a BPA or bring into a GSA contract. Want to mention this too. We're always by your side. A lot of stuff I'm putting out there today might be foreign to you. When I start talking about 889 and how do I do my alignment? Can I reach out to the bases? Can I talk to them? We're doing all that for you. We're always by your side. We're going to make sure those alignments keep happening. Pentagon Purchasing has already committed to that as well. That's why General Holt was so excited about the service supplier component. Did you know we're the only federal e-marketplace offering services? The only one. Like I said, we're not leaving anybody behind. None of our small businesses. They're all going to get an opportunity. They're all going to have visibility. And it all starts off with opportunity. Will that turn into something? Yeah, it's going to turn into something. How big? I can't tell you. I can tell you on product, about 3 million or 3 billion in big. That's a big pie. That's just Army and Air Force. So again, this is the reporting we send back. Alignment is the key. That's what we have to get to. And that's what we're going to continue to work on between now and the end of the year, getting that alignment with these bases as quickly as possible and launching these bases as quickly as possible. So when they roll into Q2, they already have everything they need and what they're looking for, and we're going live. We want to be able to get a good handful, call it 5 to 10 of them, live before the end of the year. That all depends on, again, that alignment. We're going to continue to work with everybody on it. We get some questions about timing. Service suppliers go on pretty quick. We got to do keyword search with y'all. So we have to have keyword searches. We actually built that into our ePS catalog. So you can have up to 3,000 keywords in there so you're easy to find. Then we need a capability statement from you. So that when the contract holders or the small business sourcing group or even a GPC holder gets on, they get to learn more about you and what you offer and where you're at. Capability statement, especially if you did some work with the government or public agency already, got to be on there. So we work with you on that, making sure you have a very robust capability statement. Product suppliers, you got a little bit more work to do, but we're always with you. We're going to walk you through all that. You got to build a catalog. Remember, this is GPC. So you got 3 billion on it. That means it's government P card. You have to be able to accept their government P card. So we got to make sure you have the merchant account. We have a merchant account with another corporate member at NMSDC, Fiserv, their company, sister companies, Card Connect. So that's our exclusive for our B2B here with Army Air Force. Why? Because it's GPC card. because these buyers need level 3 line item detail. What the heck does that mean? Doesn't matter. It's very detailed information about each of their purchases that they have to run reports on and pass up to upper command. Most small businesses say, I can process a card, but what the heck is level 3? Don't worry about it. We got you covered. So we make sure, again, all of that is taken care of. We work with you on all of that. So that's where we're headed with everything here. So our goal, collectively, it's a collective goal. I already told you about the partners. Our small business partners are involved in this. Them understanding the process is key. Heck, I would love to have orders coming in tomorrow. If you guys aren't selling, we don't make any money either. Some of those questions have come across. Hey, I participate in federal marketplaces. Yep, it's one of those 3. And they charge somewhere between 9 and 15%. Yep. One of those, I think the founder just went to outer space. I don't think that dude needs any more money. So what are we doing? We went back to DOD, went back to the feds, and we said, hey, we're not here to do anything like that. You know, I tell you what, we're just going to charge 5%, a third of what everybody else does. They were ecstatic about it. Is that going to be good competitive pricing? I'm answering some of the questions that already come in. Yep. How do you know that? Well, because you're not getting compared to contract pricing. You're not being compared against GSA schedules. Your pricing is compared against the other federal e-marketplaces. And you're already 2/3 ahead because of we dropped that fee down to 5% of a transaction fee. Again, they were ecstatic about that. General Holt's statement, which all of you out there are entrepreneurs, his statement was, you are going to disrupt the market. Yeah, we love that statement. You're right. We're going to disrupt the market. Us and our small business partners are going to completely disrupt this market with our approach, and we love it. And so do they. So again, that's a summary. Army, Air Force, high level today. It's already 12:53. Let me just touch on a couple other things, and I'm going to take some questions. Future webinars coming up. We're going to talk about staples. Next screen. I'll get into detail about that on the next webinar. They're looking for resellers. They want to expand their reseller diversity and veteran program. They want to do those alignment and help you align with the bases of selling their products. Do you have to qualify? Yes. You have to go through the staples process. Will we help you with that? Yes. Will you have the technology to do it? Well, we're going to talk about that. If you can create an electronic catalog, if you can do integration of CXML, XML, then yeah. And can you have a process P cards, credit cards, level 3 line item detail? Can you do electronic invoicing? Can you integrate that to ERPs? Well, then you have the technology if you just said yes to all those questions. I just rambled them off. 99% of our small businesses said no, not to all of them. Okay, well, that's what ePS eConnect does. Is there a cost for that? Yeah, we put a $2 million fund together. So it's only $1,500 annual. And you get all 3 modules, catalog and fulfill and pay. That meets all requirements of every single corporation out in America and every single public sector out there. Service suppliers are going to go, wait a minute, I don't use that other stuff. You're right. You don't. You're just going to use catalog. See how transparent I am? You're right. But you're going to be the only one out there with a catalog that has keyword search. Out of the gates, your $1,500 investment is going to give you visibility just with the Airforce of 26,000 buyers. For me, sitting as a business owner, I'd say that's probably the best $1,500 I've spent in the last year and a half, 2 years, 5 years, God knows how long. But that's the investment. It's not much. We lose money, folks. We lose money on all of that. Unless we're selling, unless it's adopted, unless that $3 billion starts flowing our way, we don't make any money. You don't make any money. That's how invested we are in this. So our $2 million fund has already grown. We weren't supposed to add service suppliers until Q4. We added them last quarter because of the demand for service suppliers on the corporate side, as well as on the public sector side. So yeah, there's a cost. We minimize that cost, and that's our goal. Our goal is also to help you grow. That's another webinar. Is this just for the NDVSB eMarketplaces? Nope. That technology can be used outside of the eMarketplaces, especially with corporate America. We show you how, we help you build a business case. We do awareness campaigns for you. Again, for those on with NMSDC, we'll work with the regional affiliates. We want to get that messaging out. We have spotlight suppliers that are going out. That's what we're doing now as well. I'll get into that one of my other webinars. Last screen, and I'll take questions. For those NMSDC members that are on here now, these are the ones, you can see them. You'll get this. These are the corporate members we already talked to. You can see most of them Fortune 500. These are, again, I'm a layman. These are big dogs. They have all of them reach out based upon the offering, and everybody thinks NMSDC eMarketplace. Well, there's 3 different options for that eMarketplace. The reason all these folks have already reached out is because we can give them their own private diversity portal that connects directly to their procurement platform and their ERP. That's a first to market offering. That's what you're part of. That's why you're looking at these folks on this screen right now, and it keeps coming every week. We get more. That's why this many responded. It's actually 80 now in just 10 weeks. It's phenomenal. It's really exciting over here, and we want it to be exciting for all of you as well. All right, we got 5 minutes left. I answered some of those questions that already popped in here. Can you feed me some more?
David, I would say that the number one question that we're getting is, what are the costs? How do I join? What are the costs? And I think if you focus a little bit on the model, the question is, does our fee come off the top? Do we work it into our margin? How does that work?
That's all great questions. Remember, man, it's hard to say this because most people won't believe it. We're not in this for the money. We want to make money like you do. That's exactly what we want to do. We want to make money like you do. So that means we're going to work with you. We've had companies come in here and say, hey, if that $1,500, is that just for here? Nope. Is that just for the Army and Air Force? Nope. Once you have ePS Connect, it's for everything. You could use it in our eMarketplaces. You could use it elsewhere. You could use it directly with corporations throughout America. We'll talk about that some other time. But no, it's not something that, oh, now I have to pay another 15, another 15. No, it's one time annual, 1,500 annually. That's it. We're not going to nickel and dime. We're not going to go. We don't do that here. What was the other question, Julie?
Kind of the model of how do our fees get taken out? So comparing us to other marketplaces in terms of is the fee part of the margin, or how does that work?
Okay, yeah, the fee. So the 5% fee, that's on the federal side, so Army Air Force specific right now. So again, as I mentioned, it's a third of what the other federal marketplaces are charging. That goes into your margin. That's all part of it, especially a product supplier. That goes into your margin. And we already know we're competitive there. So we're going to help you build that EPS catalog and put that into your margin. So does it automatically come out? No, we're partners. I don't call any of my small businesses customers. You're our partners. So part of that is, no, all that money goes into your bank account. At the end of every month, you'll get a statement. And that statement will say, you had X amount of sales and your invoices for 5% of that. Net 30, maybe you need net 60. We'll help you any way we can. Some of our small businesses said, hey, COVID, yeah, we know. We're just rebounding. Or some of us say, we're just not even rebounding yet. Got it. What's your budget? You need a payment plan. Absolutely will help you with that. So any hurdle that might be in front of you financially, we're here to help with that as well. We already put $2 million towards the fund. We'll help you with your own budgets inside your own companies. On the corporate side, we'll talk about that next time on the next webinar. That's a smaller fee. Is it adjustable? Answer is yes. Our corporate members, they're our fellow corporate members. We want to make sure that your pricing meets their requirements. If that means we have to drop that fee, I'm telling you right now, we'll drop that fee. I think the same way you do. I'd rather make something of something than nothing of nothing. So absolutely, and that's what we've told our fellow corporate members, 80 of them so far. Yeah, we'll absolutely do that for you. We want to make sure you're buying from our small businesses partners. That's what we want to make sure of. That answer it okay, Julie?
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions?
There's lots of other questions, and I think that many of them we'll have to get to individually as we reach out to sellers. I think that still the question of what kind of supplies, consumables, food service consumables, what types of services. I think you've thoroughly answered that. Just to say, it's every service, we can say we want to put you in front of the Army and the Air Force. So if you're offering a service, please contact us and let us help you.
Yeah, again, it comes from the Pentagon. They're not tracking that as much as they want to. This is going to help them track that. That's why we went back to them and said, okay, if they can't do it on GPC, I need the other stakeholders. These service suppliers can't come on, and just because it doesn't fit the GPC program, they're going to have access to those contract holders on the bases. Are they going to have access to that small business group on the bases? The answer was yes. Okay. We do that through spotlight suppliers. I'll explain that again next time. A lot of our service suppliers become spotlight suppliers too, saying, hey, look who we just added. I just talked to a young lady, an NMSDC supplier. I know I'm over time. If you want to stay on, that'd be great. Does painting, arts, Dubai Center. She all over the world. Native Jamaican. Wonderful. I bet you there's not hardly any of the corporate members out there that know that there's an MBE that does paintings that they could put throughout their buildings and in their lobby. Well, I'll tell you what, that's going to be one of our spotlight suppliers. We'll do that across the board. What's a spotlight supplier? That means you're going to be on the eMarketplace on a banner announcing you, saying, guess who's here? You probably didn't know that. Again, that's a whole lot of, that's another webinar. We'll get into more of those details. But for today, our biggest mission is Army Air Force. I'll get into the other ones. As you can see, 80 corporate members. We really got to start talking about that. We already have 2 or 3 of them already building their private eMarketplace and aligning suppliers. Again, once you're a service supplier, you go out there no matter what. They love that, to be able to have that as a sourcing option for their sourcing groups within the corporations. So again, I'm very transparent. We have to make some money here by doing all this. $1,500 is what it is. It's a great investment, in my opinion, on your part. And it's not just something we're throwing out there. Hopefully, if you take anything away from today, you take that away, that we do have a passion for this. We've been doing this for a long time. And look at the partners that are behind this program. They're all behind it. They're all want to be able to meet that goal. And that's whether it's visibility, making it easier for buyers to find you, and then buying from you, all across the board, every single one of them. Okay, I know I'm over time. So we will get back any questions that have not been answered. Again, I'm going to have more webinars. I'm going to talk about those other programs in more detail. We'll answer whatever questions came through and send that out as well. It usually takes my team a day or two, because there's so many of them, to get those questions answered, and they'll get back out to you. So that'll be sent out to the whole group, everybody that attended. So I want to thank everybody again for attending today. NMSDC, they got a great program going on too, with their national MBIC group. I think it's at 2 o'clock. I think their first session is a view from the C-suite. Jose from UPS is one of the speakers on there. UPS is one of the corporations that we're talking to and moving forward with their private eMarketplace. So Jose is one of those speakers. So as I said, everybody's working on this collectively. And we're looking forward to all you joining and being part of our mission, and helping us help you grow your businesses. So thank you again for your time today. I look forward to talking to you all again within a week or two.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and we will be circulating the link to the recording as well as the presentation. Thanks again. Bye-bye.